Hi everyone, so today I wanted to share a super quick and easy tutorial for how I fixed doll joints that have become locked into place. So it's really common in especially older dolls like Barbies in the 70s who are made of a particularly cheaper plastic. With time, their limbs can fuse in place. Case in point with my lovely twist and turn Stacy over here. You can see her waist still twists, her arms still move, but her legs have gotten stuck. So this is not limited and exclusive to older dolls. Sometimes you'll get a brand new doll and maybe just by some manufacturing defect, they'll be completely stiff like this. I've had this issue with Monster High dolls in the past, with my Power Ghouls Toralei and with my Skull Shores gift set Draculaura, both whom I purchased brand new. And I've had this problem buying second-hand dolls that weren't that old. And I did touch briefly upon this in my tutorial for how I repair Monster High limbs. But yeah, basically the limbs are fused into place, and I think that what ends up happening a lot of the time is people try to force the doll's joints to move, and that causes them to break. So this will prevent that from happening. I've had dolls that were completely fused into place, like my Mod Hair Ken. His arms and his legs were fused into place. My sister's Malibu Skipper's legs were fused into place. Also, the twist and turn mechanisms sometimes lock into place, like on my Dream Date PJ. This has helped all of those problems. So all you're going to need is some kind of oil. I like baby oil, and the label fell off. But that's because it smells nice and it wipes off pretty easily. You could also use some kind of cooking oil, like olive oil, coconut oil, vegetable oil, whatever you want. Personally, I would recommend staying away from anything from the automotive section. My dad actually used that one time on our Malibu Skipper, and it was dirty looking and it smelled really bad. So keep in mind that this is gonna make your doll smell the way that the oil smells. And you don't need anything super strong like motor oil or anything like that. I personally stay away from that stuff. I mean, you can use baby oil on your own skin, and you can eat vegetable oil and stuff, so that's why I use that. And you're also going to need a Q-tip to apply it. So I like to pour my oil into the cap just because I find it's easier. And I'm going to dip my Q-tip in the cap with the oil and get it really saturated. And then I'm going to go all along the seams of her joint, and I'm just gonna put as much oil in there as possible. And I mean, you're gonna want to use quite a bit, and you're really gonna want to make sure that it goes into the crevices. And this is why, like I said, you want to use something that smells nice and isn't dark in color, because you don't want to stain your doll. If you want, you can let this sit for a few minutes, but what I like to do is I like to slowly wiggle the legs, and as you can see, it freed it up right away. Sometimes it takes more work, but you can see how quickly that lubricated her legs, and you could kind of hear a slight pop noise. So we're just gonna wiggle her around, really work it in there. Now, when my Dream Date PJ had a really bad locked waist, it took more effort. I had to keep applying it and slowly twitching it, and it took a good minute or so for it to actually work its way in there. That's why it's important just to slowly work it. Not every doll is gonna free up as quickly as Stacy did. She wasn't locked up like this when I got her 5 years ago. She's just kind of locked up since then. So we're just gonna keep working it back and forth. And as you can see, there's oil all over her butt now, so she's going to need to have it washed off. I'm just going to go take her to the sink and wash her off with some dish soap. So there you have it. Stacy is dressed back up, and I washed all the oil off, and you can see her legs freely move. Sometimes if your doll has a really bad defect, you might actually need to use a razor blade to go into the crevice of the joint. I would not recommend doing that unless you absolutely have to, but with the dolls from the 70s especially, made by Mattel, they have a defect where their plastic almost like turns gummy over time and like runs like it's melting. I've had this problem with some talking dolls from the late 60s, so I actually needed to trim off some of that like excess buildup before I could even attempt to like wiggle their legs. But most of the time you really don't need to do that because the dolls will free up pretty quickly. So I hope this helped you guys out, and until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, and love your life.